Hello everyone, this is Kelly and I'd like to welcome you to day one of our Heartfelt Harvest Release. Make sure you check out the information box below for more information, including the time of the release and of course our release party. First is the Fall Flourish stipple cover plate. This cover plate is filled with a beautiful design with all those little stippling pinpricks. They're going to press into your cardstock to create a beautiful, subtle design. This cover plate will add lots of interest and texture to your backgrounds, whether you're stippling that on to pattern paper or even white cardstock. Stippling cover plates are an awesome way to add texture and interest to your cards. This next beauty is the Fall Leaves 3D embossing folder. I'm going to show you just the folder first so you can see all of that beautiful fall design pressed into the plastic of that embossing folder. I'm going to add some cardstock here so we can get a close-up look at all the gorgeous details in the leaves and acorns. You can even see the veins and the little pieces that we're going to press into your cardstock. Now here is the front side, and even the back side of these embossed papers are so gorgeous. There's so many different techniques and things that you can do with embossing folders. Here's a card that I made during one of our live streams using the Fall Leaves embossing folder, and this is one that I'm going to be reaching for all season long. It's absolutely gorgeous. Next is the Give Thanks stamp, coordinating die, and stencil set. So first we have the beautiful swirly Give Thanks that has little leaves and petals and berries around it, and then lots of little sub-sentiments that you can mix and match with the Give Thanks stamp. So there's so grateful for you and all things give thanks with a grateful heart, and so on. The coordinating die set is going to cut out that large give thanks sentiment along with all the sub-sentiments. And then the coordinating stencils are going to make it so easy for you to align that up over that beautifully stamped give thanks. And then it's going to easily allow you to color in all the little berries, petals, and leaves. This beautiful sentiment set is called Heartfelt Hello. It has a coordinating die set that's going to cut out every one of those awesome greetings. Everything from, oh my gourd, it's your birthday, sending cozy feelings and love, my favorite color is autumn, to my cherished friend, always thinking of you, autumn blessings, I love fall most of all, heartfelt hello, of course, blessed beyond measure, I still falling for you, fall breeze and autumn leaves, and more. And then of course we have those awesome coordinating dies that are going to cut out all those and make it really easy to add those gorgeous sentiments to your cards. I'm really excited to share with you the Grateful Gatherings stamps and coordinating dies. These were drawn by Kelly Taylor, who is one of our awesome design team members and just an all-around awesome lady. She's got all these beautiful pumpkins and gourds and sunflowers and even a wagon wheel. There's some beautiful sentiments that coordinate along with the beautiful fall scenery. There's the coordinating dies that are going to cut around those large images and all those smaller images, even the little wagon wheel and the sentiments as well. This next little die set is called the Lovely Layers Wood Vase, and there's a couple of different ways that you can use this. It's going to cut out the little log image that has all that wood grain embossed into it. There's a cut opening at the top so you can slip in your florals, but there's also a little cap, so to speak, that goes at the end that you can use this as an actual little log or a little piece of wood. So we have some dies coming up that are going to coordinate beautifully with this. But first I want to share this with the new Lovely Layers Autumn Bouquet. So this little autumn bouquet is going to create a cotton stem, some stems with leaves, and the stems with the little pom-poms on it. I'm not sure what those called. Even little wheat stalks that you can press in. You can kind of get a look here what it would look like with those little fall florals down into the wood vase. There are layering pieces that are going to go on to the heads of those little flowers to create the petals and blossoms. You can cut these out of white cardstock and ink blend, or just cut them out of colored cardstock. Now this is the Lovely Layers mushrooms, and I am in love with these cute little mushrooms. There are 3 in this layering die set. I'm going to pull out each size. So there's a tall one, more of a medium size, and then one that has 2 little mushrooms coming out. Now the little heads are going to layer onto the top. So again, this is something that you could cut out of white cardstock and do some ink blending, or cut those out of colored cardstock. Now here's a little graphic at the look of those cute little mushrooms all put together. You can see there with all the texture that is pressed into your paper. They're going to be adorable. And these pair so well with that cute little layering wood vase. So here is another graphic that shows a little fall floral bouquet in the upright vase, and then also the little mushrooms kind of growing in and around the log if you kind of flip it over on its side, or even have it upright with the top on it. Now this is the Lovely Layers dianthus. You can see there's the large stem in the center. There's all of the little petals that are going to layer onto the blossoms, and then there's also layering leaves. Again, this is an easy one to cut out of colored cardstock, or to cut out of white and do lots of ink blending. Here's a beautiful layering guide to show you how each set of petals and leaves are going to attach to create that beautiful dianthus stem. Next is the Bountiful Banners collection. Now this starts out with a large stamp set that's going to stamp the whole background along with that banner. There's coordinating sentiments that are going to fit inside the banner. There's also a coordinating die set. You can see the large die at the top that's going to cut out all those little nooks and crannies in the stamped image. Now there's also an add-on die set. And this is really cool because there's an impression plate that's almost going to give you that really cool pressed letterpress look into your paper. There's also a die that's going to cut all the way around the edges of either that stamped image or the impressed image. There is a stencil collection that's going to color in your stamped image, and it's also really cool because you can use these stencils to color in right over your impressed image if you want to use the impression plate. Now I'm going to hold these little stencils up so you can see there are different ones that are going to color in the leaves, the little petals, and also the berries and the banner. Now I love this set because you can stencil just on flat paper, you can stencil right over the stamped image, or you could also use the impression plate and press all that beautiful design into your paper, and then stencil all the colors and petals and leaves right over the top. I'm going to hold these up to that beautiful impression plate, and you can see how with that really nice clear stencil set, you can line it up and then put all the colorful details right over your impressed design. Also in that die set is a banner, and you'll notice that this banner is just a touch smaller than the banner that is pressed or stamped onto your paper. That is so you can cut that out, stamp your sentiment, and then layer that over the top, and you're going to be able to see all of your layers. You'll have your stamped or your pressed layer, and then the die cut layer over the top is smaller, so you could add a little foam tape for dimension and really pop that up, but still be able to see all the layers below. So there is the Bountiful Banner stamp set, the coordinating die set, and then there's the die set that has the impression plate, the outline die, and the banner die. Our newest set of layering frames is called the Fancy Fall Layering Frames die set. You can see there are many dies in the set to cut out your paper. It's going to cut plus emboss all that gorgeous detail. So there's a large frame that's going to be A2 size, a smaller frame that almost looks like a picture frame with the little corners and edges. There's an oval frame, and then a fancy frame that goes in the center. There's also a circle that has little leaves and things that are going to press into your paper. There's a small banner that fits right inside the smaller circle. And then there's a large banner that has such great detail when you cut that with your cardstock. It adds all of that great embossed design so it looks like that banner is really folded up and gives such great dimension to that flat die cut. Now here is a look at some of those dies that I've used on this fall card. You can see the craft paper there in the back with all the great embossed detail, the oval, and also the banner with a sentiment stamped onto it. Now this is the Fancy Fall Layering Frames die set. Here's a graphic that shows all of those dies stacked up. You can see there to the left is all the little pieces with the circle and the banner in the circle, and then the larger banner there to the right. Okay, it's time to create some cards, and I'm going to be experimenting with the Bountiful banner stamp and coordinating die set, as well as the impression plate and the coordinating stencils. So the first thing I'm going to do is simply stamp this beautiful background onto some white cardstock using my Misty. So I'm going to take that large background image and get it lined up over my cardstock in my Misty. And then depending on how you want to color in your image, you could stamp this in Copic friendly ink. I'm going to use our Be Creative Intense Black ink, which is Copic friendly. You could Copic color that in. You could also stencil all your coloring right over the top with the stencils and some blending brushes. Now, because this is such a detailed, large image, I can give that some pressure with our Be Creative pressure tool. And because this is a new stamp, I'm going to stamp this a couple of times to make sure I get a really good stamped impression. Next, I can line up a sentiment from the coordinating sentiments, and I can stamp that in the same ink. So I'm going to stamp a couple of times the Simply Blessed sentiment, and then I can use the coordinating die. Now this die is the one that's going to cut out all the little nooks and crannies on the insides of that image. So once I get this lined up and cut out with my die machine, I'm going to have little openings in between some of the leaves and the flowers where you're going to be able to layer this and see whatever cardstock or card base that you add below. So this is just one way that you can use this little Bountiful Banners collection. That's super sweet and simple. Next is the impression plate. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you want to use the outline die to cut out the outline of your paper. Then you want to take your die cut and line that up with the impression plate. I used a little bit of low tack tape to hold down my cardstock, and then I ran this through my die machine with a shim or like your embossing rubber mat that comes with your die machine. And that's really going to press all that beautiful kind of letterpress look into your paper. The next thing I can do is play with the stencils in that collection. You can see I'm really getting my head over the top of that to make sure we stay lined up. And I am kind of going in with different colors to color in different areas of that floral background. So the stencils will stencil right over the top of that impression plate pressed paper. I can switch out the stencils, switch out my ink colors, and mix up the greens of the leaves, mix up the colors of the petals of the flowers, and just move right along through that stencil set. Now you could also use the stencil just on flat cardstock. So you're going to get a beautiful design just on flat cardstock. You can use the stencils over your stamped image to color in the stamped image. And then you can use it just like this to color in over what has been pressed into the cardstock with that impression plate. So after I've had fun coloring with the stencils, next I'm going to build some card bases. I have a light lavender, which is going to go with that impression plate background that I created, and then some buttery yellow cardstock that I'm just going to add that simple stamped design right over the top. Now for the Simply Blessed background that I stamped and cut with that die that cuts out all the little nooks and crannies in between the petals and the leaves, I'm going to pop that up with some of our little adhesive foam dots just to add a little more interest to the card. But you can see how easy this is, and it's stunning just in black and white as is. You could stamp that onto a colored cardstock and add that, or you could stamp it, Copic color it, use the stencils. There's just so many different options with this collection. Sorry, I'm getting my head right over the top there so I can line it up, and that is beautiful just as is. Next, I can take my impression plate image or design here, add some foam strips to the back of that, peel back the backer there, and then I can add that onto some light purple cardstock that matches the little berries and the centers of the flowers that I stenciled on, plus a note of thanks sentiment that I added into the center. So I'm going to hold these up and give you a look at these. And then just to add just a little something extra, I'm going to use some of our adhesive pearls just to add to the centers of the flowers and make it super easy. Now I like to use my little die pick to pick up the little adhesive pearls. You can see I've added coordinating purple to the center of the little orange flowers, and then I'm just going to add a really deep like teal turquoise to the center of the others. I think that's really beautiful with the yellow cardstock underneath. Now here's 3 different backgrounds that I created. First is the stamped and die cut one that we created a card out of. Next is the one there on the purple that I used the impression plate and the stencils. And then the one in the center is using the impression plate and all the stencils. Plus I added a little bit of Copic details in there just to add just a little bit of extra something. Plus I stenciled the banner over the top. Now that is all for day 1's things that we have to share with you, all the little sneak peeks. I hope you come back tomorrow for day 2 of the Heartfelt Harvest Release. Make sure you check out all the information in the description box, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.